Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Lou. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast after the Toronto Raptors win at home in preseason by a score of 107-105. Wow, what an exciting ending, honestly. This game was going nowhere. This game was, quite honestly, a brick. I was preparing to tell you everything about Chris Boucher's return to Toronto, which was really cool. If you haven't read it already, Chris Boucher wrote an incredible piece in the Players Tribune that I urge everybody to check out. I actually might read some of it later on as well. And honestly, the Celtics were just in control. Like I didn't really enjoy watching this game because of the fact that the Celtics were up, 20 plus. Peyton Pritchard, all-time Raptor killer. Like, I'm ready to put him on that Gerald Henderson pantheon. Obviously, the award is named after Gerald Henderson, but as one of my listeners on X.com pointed out, a lot of people don't even know who Gerald Henderson even is anymore, which, for the modern era, we could just call that the Peyton Pritchard award, because this guy always torches the Raps. Chris Boucher on a revenge tour against the Raptors. He was cooking the Raptors. And then, the fourth quarter happened, and we just skipped to the ending because I feel like that's the only notable part for the Raptors was Raptors had their third/fourth stringers in. Some of these guys might not even make the team. Like Darko openly saying before the game, like, we haven't even decided if we're going to go with 14 players heading into the season or 15. Obviously, the Raptors are just slightly over the tax, so they can choose to go with 14 players instead of the maximum 15 rostered players heading into the regular season. That alone wouldn't actually keep the Raptors out of the luxury tax, but still, it's not a good sign when the coach is openly saying we might not even keep any of these guys considering we have 14 guaranteed contracts. We might roll with just that. However, with that being said, I still expect people to play hard for the Toronto Raptors if they are wearing the Raptor jersey, especially at home. And look, for the Raptors, first off, for a preseason crowd, this is pretty good. Like, I would say the Raptors had maybe 85% attendance. Like, people were there, people were loud. It was an early start on a Friday night, so didn't get full right away. But as the game went on, you saw how many fans were there. You heard how loud it was towards the end. Trust me, I've been watching a lot of preseason ball, kind of a sickening amount. And when I watch team to team, I just see empty arenas after empty arenas. Because guess what? It's preseason. It don't really count. So you got fans in the building. You've already kind of screwed them in a way because the Raptors said also before the game, and obviously no announcements prior to this, but the Raptors didn't play any of their starters tonight. Darko just came and he's just like, none of the starters are in. So literally Yaka, who is getting better, but still was obviously feeling those back spasms. So he's been out. Scotty's out. IQ, RJ, Brandon, those guys are definitely healthy. Those guys are all out. We're going to roll out just the second unit and the third unit. So you come into this game already not seeing that. And then on top of that, you get this really one-sided game where the Celtics are kind of bullying the Raptors. I mean, the Celtics highlights were basically just Peyton Pritchard, Chris Boucher raining threes on the Raps, or it was their bench guys who were just bullying the Raptors, like Baylor Shireman and number 55 for the Celtics, just pushing guys around. Like, he got reviewed for flagrants twice. Neither time was he caught, but come on, dude. Come on. Namias Kita, moving around, bumping people, just getting pushed. Just getting absolutely pushed around. And so it was kind of a terrible effort. And then the fourth quarter happens. And of course, the Raptors had already started to fight back a little bit. They had gotten the game back in their favor a little bit in the third quarter. But that end of the game where the Raptors used an 18-2 run to end the game against the Boston Celtics. I think they forced 6 or 7 turnovers, what looked to be in a row, basically. And they use that as momentum, and again, I said this, but a lot of these guys probably won't even make the roster, and that's the thing that I respect the most, because whether it's guys like David Roddy who played a big part in this, I'm actually really hoping if they do keep the 15th guy, I hope it's AJ Lawson. AJ making plays in this stretch, Jared Roden making plays in this stretch, Olivier Sarr making plays in this stretch. And I know it sounds kind of like, yo, Will, what are you talking about? These guys probably won't do anything. But like, you know what? They put on the Raptors jersey and they played hard as hell. And honestly, I had an issue with how much the Raptors were getting pushed around for the entire first half, getting out hustled, getting out muscled by all these guys on the Celtics. And I'm just like, you're gonna really? It's the first preseason. It's the first home game. Okay, I don't care. It's preseason. Home game on a Friday night. People are in the building here for you. Can't just get pushed around by Baylor Shireman. Like, who is he? Right? So to see the Raptors end of the bench guys play that hard, I love that. I genuinely really love that. I appreciate that. And yeah, it was a furious comeback. Like it was kind of unbelievable because again, the game was dead in the waters. Like it was like Celtics were up like 12 points, I think, with like 3 minutes left in the game. They're not chilling, but like they're like, look, we're gonna win this game 99% of the time, and this was just that 1% where the Raptors came in and incredible pressure. I gotta say, the Raptors obviously pressured full court. They trapped the ball at half. They forced a ton of turnovers that way. The Celtics, weren't really prepared for it at the end there. They just coughed the ball up a ton. They got a ton of steals. And then it got to the point where I was like, hey, Raptors 105, Boston 105. And the Raptors called timeout. Coming out of the timeout, I guess it was a bit of a broken play, but they had the ball in the hands of their point guard, Chucky Hepburn, who was a huge part of this game. But Chucky couldn't really get the play going, and then he had to create on his own, and he shot a little mid-range pull-up that was very short, didn't have a chance to go in. So then the Celtics get the ball. They try to race the way up, and, they're not able to get a shot off because they have another turnover. So it's back to Toronto. And, there's kind of a weird situation where the Celtics were challenging potentially for, like, maybe it was a push, maybe it was out of bounds, whatever. So they tried to challenge to get the possession back. Clearly, the Celtics just turned the ball over under heavy pressure for, like, the 10th straight possession and threw it out of bounds. Toronto, then actually, it was interesting because the Celtics used their challenge and failed, that actually burned their last timeout in order to complete that challenge. But since Toronto had already called the timeout, the referees ruled that the Raptors didn't even need to call their own timeout because the Celtics challenging overruled the Raptors first calling the timeout. However, in order to advance the ball, because the play happened in Toronto's half, the Raptors would need to call timeout to then advance the ball, which they chose to do, which they burned the last timeout. And it was really interesting. I was like, I don't know. Would you keep the timeout? Would you not keep the timeout? Regardless, there's about 4 seconds left, and it's the final play. The Raptors it's 105-105. And, the speculation is probably that the Raptors are going to get to one of their, guards, whether that's Chucky Hepburn, who they got to shoot the last shot at the end of the game, the previous possession, or potentially AJ Lawson, who is kind of their shooter. And the way they're lined up, they have the guy inbounding the ball. They have their two bigs with Mogbo and I think Sarr in the middle of the floor trying to screen to get these guys open, cutting towards the ball. And, the play looked like they're going to inbound it to their guards. But last second, and maybe this was a read, maybe this was a play call from Darko. Either way, it was brilliant because I think it was a really, really great credit all around because the first shooter came off the screen, didn't get it. Then AJ comes off the first screen, is about to come off the second screen, which was supposed to be set by Mogbo. The entire defense is looking at AJ, trying to prevent him from catching the ball. And in the midst of this, Mogbo, instead of setting that second screen, slips back door towards the rim. He gets a step on his man, and that's kind of all you need in that situation because the paint is entirely spaced out. Everybody's trying to prevent the catch at about the three-point line, that there's just nobody in the paint. And so when Mogbo cut into the paint, first off, it took the defense by surprise. It was a nice inbound pass, too, to get Mogbo the ball. And even though it was just a step in front of his man, he still had inside position. So when he caught it, he was already like basically at the rim. If anything, he was actually a little bit too much under the rim. Took a dribble, faked it, and then went back up with his left hand, which I thought was really, clever because not only to help him get the shot up faster, but I think the defense was fully anticipating him to go up with the right hand, considering he's on the right side of the rim and he's a right-handed player. But he goes up with the left hand with the sneaky quick layup, and he gets it to drop. And that put the Raptors up 2 points with about a second left. The Celtics then don't have timeouts because Joe Mazzulla just burned his last timeout on a challenge that went nowhere, so they couldn't advance the ball. All they get is a last-second heave. It's nowhere close. Raptors win, and yeah, like honestly, really happy for Jonathan Mogbo first and foremost. He was a huge part of the comeback in terms of just the effort and the fight. If you got to think, if you're Mogbo's position, okay, last year you come in, Mogbo was like, a big part of the rotation last season. Now I wouldn't say he was a positive, but again, a lot of rookies aren't positives. Like that's hardly a rare thing. But I think for Mogbo, like he started even started 18 games. If I remember correctly, yeah, he started the 5th game that he played in the NBA. Right, he was already starting by game 5 of the season, and of course he started a lot towards the end of the year because the Raps were tanking. But like, if you're in Mogbo's position, okay, so you're a starter last season. You come into this year, look what's happened since at the forward position. Number one, they signed Sandro Mamukelashvili, who's definitely better than Mogbo, so he's ahead of him already in the bench rotation. Then they draft Colin Murray-Boyles with the 9th pick, who's also is Jonathan Mogbo, which is just better at pretty much everything. With all due respect, maybe just less athletic, but like definitely bigger, stronger, more skilled, able to sort of play more on the ball and bully his way to the rim. And so also he's the 9th pick versus like Mogbo, who's the 2nd round pick. So you're definitely more invested in the first pick than the 2nd pick. And then on top of that, of course, the Raptors also traded for Brandon Ingram, who's going to play a lot of minutes on the wing. So if you're Mogbo, like the fact that he's even out there with the 4 stringers, guys who probably won't be on this team a week from now after the Raptors make their final cuts, like, you got to feel like, okay, this kind of sucks. Like, things are really gone against me. And of course, that's partially on him in terms of just like, he's got to be better than these guys. It's just the nature of competition. It's not a charity. But then I really, again, respect these players for in this position where they really have to show you something. He played all out. His energy was great. He was getting on the glass. He was fighting guys. Like, the whole game, he was just wrestling against guys. He was getting offensive rebounds. Like, he's smaller than some of these dudes, but he was playing really, really hard. And again, like, that was a really, I don't know. Like, I would love to hear from Darko post-game. And obviously, I'm here, not at the arena. But, like, love to hear whether or not that was a read by Jonathan himself to make that back cut instead of like going for the screen, or if that was a plan by Darko to sort of have him do that. Either way, that was a brilliant move to get him that deep catch, that seal already, because the guys, he's already sealed his man because the guy's already been back cut. And then that finish around the basket, which was not necessarily an easy finish either, because he had to go up quick enough and take the defense by surprise, play against the clock, and there was a help defender coming over. So super happy for him. Super happy that all the teammates got to mob him afterwards. Like, I think the intensity in the building obviously was fairly quiet. I don't know. They were even doing less like crowd prompts that they usually do, like, the "Let's Go Raptors," or like they weren't even playing music. Like, I don't know. It was like preseason for everybody. Like the scoreboard wasn't even working at certain moments. Like, usually if you're at the game, you have like the scoreboard, like the main scoreboard, which is important. That was working. It's just in terms of just how many points do the Raptors have, how many points do the Celtics have. That part was working. But like, even the scoreboard that usually shows you the box score for like, who the 5 players are on the floor and how many points and rebounds and assists they have, that was all broken. So like, I guess you get what you pay for with the preseason game, but damn, like that was not a particularly strong effort in terms of just like all around production wise by Toronto. And then, yeah, man, like to see them all actually stick around at the end there and see the comeback. And again, like I can't stress to you how out of nowhere it was, because the Raptors, they cut it down from like 20 down to like 10, but like you're still kind of like at arm's length, really. And it really took the effort by some of their guys. I mean, I think Jared Roden deserves a huge shout out here. He played really hard. Chucky Hepburn was sensational. And I think, Mogbo got the last shot, but Chucky Hepburn did most of the legwork to get them to that point because he was awesome. And yeah, the Raptors were able to pinch it at the end, and the crowd got in a really exciting moment. Mogbo gets a kind of unforgettable moment. I don't care, it's preseason, it's still really cool. And for the team, I don't know, it was kind of low-key bothering me, especially watching it in the first half. And I'm just like, look, if this team's gonna, like, the stated intent is to, like, we're gonna sort of bank on, we're gonna outplay you in terms of the hustle, we're gonna guard you full court, we're gonna apply all this pressure. Like, yeah, I kind of hear that, but at the same time, I didn't see that from the guys, right? Like, okay, so the starters don't play today. That's fine, because all I've seen from the second unit, whether that was last year towards the end of the season, whether that was summer league, where the Raptors, played all out, maybe the most aggressive team in that summer league setting. By the way, most of these guys, were in that summer league. When you look at CMB, Jamal, Jacoby, Mogbo, like Battle, all these guys. I thought they would come in with that type of intensity. And plus, you get to start, right? Like, okay, fine, the starters aren't there, cool, but like we get to start. This is great. You didn't see that kind of like all out effort. In fact, the only guy I was really, really impressed with out of the starting group, which again was the second unit, was Gradey Dick. Gradey Dick was awesome in this one. Gradey Dick was, um, I think Gradey was just playing all out. Like his energy, you could see on every single play of that game. Like was it sometimes a little rushed? Was it sometimes like out of control in some ways? Sure, but I can take that. I don't mind that if that's a product of his hustle and his like intent to sort of like play hard in this game. So he has 22 points, 6 rebounds, 8 of 13 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. All that's really good. Weirdly enough, went 3 of 6 from the foul line. Typically, he should be better than that. But I like the things that like, look, he had 4 offensive rebounds for Gradey Dick. He was crashing the glass all the time. He only has 1 steal, but there was a play where he poked the ball free from Anthony Simons at half court, pressure him all the way at the half court line, caused a deflection, dove for the ball, and I think won the possession for Toronto. I don't know if that was counted as a steal, but it absolutely should have been. And I think for Gradey, it was just his effort to like fly around, go hard to the basket. I mean, the threes and stuff like that, the mid-range jumpers, like those are always going to be his bread and butter, and he's going to need to knock those down. And out of all the guys off the bench, he is their best shooter in the second unit, especially off of movement, especially off of screens. But like I thought he was making some contested threes today, which were good too. Some really long contests. Guys were like really up in his face, pretty close to even blocking it, but he was still shooting it and shooting over the top of them. And then the other part too was he had this really impressive finish where he was driving to the basket in transition and kind of hit a Euro step and then hit a reverse on the other side after faking right, going to reverse on the left side. That was beautiful to see. But also it was just like, I think, part of the Gradey Dick story is that like year over year, he's obviously came in the league as a pretty scrawny rookie, physically looked overwhelmed. He had a really, really tough start to his career. Trust me. Like I remember one of the first stories we were looking out for with Gradey was like, did the Raptors change his shot? That became like a story. I think one of the former Raptors who was in training camp, Sam Decker, was like, oh, the Raptors, it's a shame that they trade Grady's shot. The Raptors have always insisted. They've never changed Grady's shot. Gradey himself has insisted, I've never had my shot changed. His mom taught him how to shoot when he was like 5 or 6. His mom was a very accomplished collegiate player. So he hasn't changed his shot. But like, it was to the point where like, did Gradey change his shot? Because like, he's struggling so much. I really appreciated that he's fought through the adversity. Because again, like the way he started was so bad. Even in the G League, it was bad. Then he came back up, finished the season strong. The following season, he started great. Then last year, kind of tailed off, then got injured towards the end. And then you saw him once again. The stories are out that he got stronger. He's building his body even more. And then obviously that first game against Denver, Gradey was very lost. Like it was upsetting watching that, to be honest, because I know how much work he's put into this. But then I thought he was pretty good in the Kings game. And I think I gave him the 3rd star. And then tonight, I mean, out of all the Raptors who played well, like he was the only guy who could really stake a claim in terms of like, like he was playing really hard on the defensive end. Does he still get shifted sometimes? Yes, I think absolutely, right? He's got a couple of things physically working against him. Even though he's getting stronger, he's still not that strong. His, I guess, side to side, like vertical quickness isn't like, or horizontal quickness, I would suppose, isn't like that great. He's not like a shifty player. And then he also feels like he has narrow hips, so it's like you don't have to like shake him that far to get an edge past him. Like it's not like he's wide and it takes a long time to get around him. But like the hustle, the effort, the fact that he was taking charges, the fact that he's not afraid of contact. I mean, he plays hard. He's going up there strong, trying to get these offensive rebounds. Like he's flying over a lot of these Celtics players, and the Celtics basically had a bigger team too. Like, like Chris Boucher, obviously he's taller than pretty much anybody the Raptors played tonight. Namias Kita is like, legitimate 6'10", 6'11", like big body. Xavier Tillman, big body. Like I think Gradey, more than anybody else, like was playing fearless and sort of trying to match some of that. And, I even like that, like, Baylor Shireman's like pushing him and he's not backing down from any of that stuff. Cause like, for Gradey Dick, he's like, it's, I don't know. Like, I guess a lot of shooters are kind of just like, trying to sort of play away from contact. Like, they're not trying to be physical. They're trying to get space off so they can, get the shot clean and go up and down straight. But Grady's never been that afraid of driving, even though his finishing has been, suspect. To be honest, he just takes a lot of really hard shots. And so it's not even like his conversion is that poor. Like he's clearly got good touch, but it's just like sometimes he's going so fast and sometimes he's going so hard into traffic that it's just objectively a hard shot. But he's always been kind of fearless in that sense. Like I really appreciate when people aren't afraid to fail. Like there's a lot of people that, and I think this actually applies to a lot of athletes where you're on this big stage and, there's obviously this whole internet economy of people are going to make fun of you if you fail or whatever. That like, I genuinely feel like people back down. Like Ben Simmons might be the biggest case of this in the NBA, right? Gradey like is almost shameless in how he plays. He's going to take aggressive shots. Sometimes he's going to have some wild misses, but the guy's just going to keep going. He's going to keep fighting. And I know that's something that the Raptors, that was part of the reason why the Raptors drafted him anyway, because the front office noticed that immediately in him is that there's this like a quality of toughness. And I do think that him getting stronger, and probably just more fit, obviously the longer he's a pro, and the more that he's matures from like age 20 to about age 22, is that like I think one of the things you got to learn too is like you got to play really really hard, especially now that Grady's come off the bench. He's clearly going to get featured, man. Like if you watch the first 5 minutes of this game, Gradey Dick was like the guy the Raptors were looking to get the ball to, even though he didn't have the ball a lot, but off ball he's always working, always trying to circle in, getting screens, trying to go around in transition, trying to streak ahead of other people. Like it took a lot of energy to sort of like play the way Gradey plays. And I respect Gradey for that because, if you're going to be a successful six man, the really successful six men are able to like concentrate their game. So you can give them 24 minutes, but they'll still give you the same production that they might give you over like 30 minutes because they're not like conserving their energy. They're giving you more in each sort of minute. And I think that like that's the key for Gradey this season. He's not going to start. It's pretty clear the starting five is what it is. It's going to be IQ, RJ, Scotty, Brandon, and Jakob when healthy, which obviously we haven't seen yet in preseason. But still, I don't see him really cracking that starting five just yet this season, barring some sort of big situation where there's an injury or an unexpected trade or anything like that. But yeah, Gradey is going to be a guy who is going to be play off the bench, but they're going to feature him a lot. If you notice, they featured him quite a bit in all three games. And I think the big thing for him is just playing even harder than he did before. Because again, you just have less time to sort of, like I want him to be exhausted after every game. You know what I mean? And I think the harder he plays, especially as a shooter, guys are always going to chase him around. That's going to wear down on guys over the course of the game too. I think there is an endurance thing where, it's the most exaggerated. The top end of this is obviously Steph Curry. Guys always talk about how it's difficult endurance wise to keep up with him. Like it wears on you physically, but then of course, once you get tired, you start slipping mentally and you start making more mistakes as well. Obviously, Gradey has a long, long way to reach any sort of thing close to that level, but I think the principle still applies. So I appreciate how hard Gradey played. In terms of the other guys, well, okay, look, Colin Murray-Boyles was really excited to watch him. He got a couple baskets early in the game. One where he posted up on Chris Boucher, got him, started off honestly in the mid post, kind of backed him down close to the restricted circle, then went up for a jump hook that went in. Had another play where he posted and drove and scored. Unfortunately, he left the game after just 8 minutes and never returned. Turns out he actually had himself. Turns out he like got an elbow contusion, so hopefully he's okay. But really am looking out for Colin just because. This is the second sort of like injury scare that he's had in preseason so far. Obviously, the first game, he had the drive against Jokic, his first ever professional basket. He took a strong against Jokic and then came down on his ankle. Fortunately, he was able to return in that game, and he's obviously played in the 2 games since. But this one, he wasn't even able to finish the game. So I really hope that everything's okay with his arm. I think there's been so much excitement for Colin, and rightfully so. I was really looking forward to it. It's like, okay, fine, no starters, but maybe we get to see a lot of Colin. You don't even see a lot of Colin in this game. Which obviously, goes on to screw up the Raptors' rotation because they really, really need, everything fine for that. Appreciate someone in the chat here saying that X-ray was clear for CMB. That's good news. Hopefully that there's not too much more swelling or anything like that. The Raptors do have a pretty busy preseason schedule. They're playing Sunday in Washington. So they will continue to sort of like see what they got, obviously, in the roster. We'll see if the starters play in Washington. I'm hoping so, but at the same time, you never know. It's preseason. As for the rest of the guys, like I was a little disappointed in some of the like I didn't think Jamal was particularly effective. Jamal actually made a couple of good plays as he always does. Knocked down some threes, which was good, but couldn't really get anything inside the paint. I thought honestly, if there's any player that Jamal has matched up with a lot, it would be Peyton Pritchard. The Raptors played the Celtics twice in preseason last year. They played them 4 times last season, just in the course of the regular season. They're playing him again. So this is already the 7th time he's played Peyton Pritchard because I think he's healthy for all those. And I don't know. I think Peyton still very much kind of like schooled him in many ways. Like obviously Jamal's going to give great effort and stuff like that. But I was really hoping that he will come in and lock up Peyton Pritchard to some degree or even improve in that defensive aspect. I thought Peyton Pritchard still kind of did whatever he wanted to do. So that was, that wasn't there. And then Jacoby Walter, who got to start in the second half, but he did have 5 assists, which okay, but like in 22 minutes, went 0 for 8 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. Didn't really finish effectively. Well, I mean, obviously went 0 for, but like was shooting a lot of pull up jumpers. Wasn't able to sort of convert on those. Kind of just an off night. But at the same time, you would have loved to see like maybe some secondary. Okay, the shot's not going, but maybe I can score here. Maybe I can get to the rim. Maybe I can get to the foul line. He is a guy who's pretty good at drawing fouls. Just kind of had nothing really kind of going there offensively. And so you would have just loved to see more of those two guys combine. And then I think in general too, I don't know. I think the first half kind of just rubbed me the wrong way how much the Celtics were pushing the Raptors around. Like it just wasn't. I just don't think it's true to what the Raptors want to do. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, the Raps have to be the team that fights back. Has to be a team that, even though they're smaller, I mean, actually, especially because they're smaller, they got to play even tougher than most other teams because, like, they're just kind of naturally a small team. I mean, how many guards do we have coming off the second unit, right? So, all those things I think didn't really work in their favor tonight in terms of just getting out hustled by Boston. And again, like, I know it's preseason, whatever. The starters aren't playing, but, let's. I still want to see effort. I think a bare minimum, like there should be a standard. You play at home in Toronto, no matter who's on the court, like just, play as hard as you can and, give them a good show. Like these are your fans who paid money to see you guys give the effort. And, that's why I'm really proud of, how the third unit was able to come in and sort of like, push hard for the win, and happy that they got the comeback, happy for Mogbo that he got the moment to get the putback or to get the bucket to get the basket. And, all in all, it turned what was kind of a dead game into what was actually a pretty exciting game. So before I go to the break, obviously I got to give a huge shout out to friend of the program, Chris Boucher, who, did give me a little dap before the game. It was as the Celtics were walking into the tunnel. So I'm hoping one of the Celtics photographers has a picture of Chris Boucher dapping an Asian guy at some point. I'd love to see that picture. No, I mean, jokes aside, we've talked about Chris a few times on this show. I think that, me and Chris obviously have a bit of back and forth and a whole sort of history. But more than anything else, I think the beautiful part was just like, getting to sort of understand his story a little bit better, getting to appreciate sort of who he is. We've done a live show together where we were able to donate, I forgot how much we donated, but it was somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000, like somewhere in that range towards his charity, the Slim Dunk Foundation, which does great work across the board. I've been personally on hand at TMU games where Chris Boucher was handing out, scholarships to towards the students there. The last time I actually saw Chris was in Toronto. It was at a Shoeless Joe's in Scarborough, the one at STC, and he was fulfilling a wish for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. There was a child who's 14. Thankfully, I think he's actually beaten his condition, but one of his wishes was to learn how to cook. And so Chris made an appearance, hung out with the kid, had dinner with the whole family, raised money, obviously, and also was just like cooking with the kid. Like that guy, he is a heart of gold, man. And I think for Chris, like, we've always seen him just in terms of playing hard as hell and take part of comebacks. Like, yeah, like Chris Boucher is that. Like what the Raptors did at the end of this game, that's what Chris Boucher tried to do every single time he came onto the court. And yeah, of course he's unorthodox. He makes mistakes here or there. We've been through all this whole sort of, song and dance. At the end of the day, I knew where I stood with Chris, man, as a player. And, you got to give him a lot of credit. When he first came into the league, he was when he first came to the Raptors, he had I think played maybe one game on a two-way with the Warriors. So he was basically cut after he was supposed to be a first-round pick actually coming out of Oregon, but he tore his I think he tore his ACL. So that really cut his draft stock from being a guy who was like he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You know what I mean? Like he should have been a first rounder. Um, they, he suffers injury. It's really unfortunate. He goes undrafted, goes to the Warriors, plays only one game, gets cut. Now he's out the league again. He signs with Toronto. I still remember his first summer league performance. That was actually when he first made an appearance for the Raptors. He was a DMP in his first two summer league appearances. And I actually remember talking to Nick Nurse about it last season in Philadelphia when I asked like Nick, like, what's your first impression of Chris? And he immediately brought up this story how, Chris was like not even starting or not even in the rotation for their summer league roster. And it wasn't like the Raptors had all these like, centers ahead of him that were like prospects. It was Augusto Lima, who, and Siobhan Thompson, who, you don't know these guys. Yeah, and quite frankly, you got to be a serious hoop head to know who those two guys were. Those two guys were the ones playing in the rotation ahead of Chris. Chris comes in the third game, starts as a small ball center, and he literally takes off. From there, he's earning minutes. He goes to the G League. By the way, you know who has the Raptors 905 record for most points? Is Chris Boucher. I think it's like 47 points that he had against the OKC Blue. After he gets that call, that record, he comes up to the league. And like the way he's like carved his way into the rotation. He signed 3 separate deals with the Raptors, the two-way, the converted two-way into a standard contract, and then when he hit free agency, he re-signed for I think like 3 years, like $30 million. Like, we're talking about life-changing money for a guy who, if you read his story, I mean, I think most people have known the story, but Chris Boucher at one point was was homeless in Montreal. Not an easy place to be homeless, especially in the wintertime. I don't know if you guys have seen winters in Montreal, but they're not nice. Like minus 20 degrees is like, a fairly common occurrence. He grew up hard, the situation at home. I mean, he details it all in his Players Tribune piece. And actually, I might actually just want to read a bit of that for you guys because, it's just such a touching piece. And I feel like you guys should just understand sort of what he's talking about here. So, I'm gonna read this. This is actually from Chris Boucher's piece, the Players Tribune. Maybe I'll share the screen so we can all read it together, type of thing. Because again, like I think people really, really need to understand like just how incredible and improbable Chris's story is. So let me just move this onto the screen so you guys can read it too. So it starts. It was too cold to sleep outside in Montreal. So when I was 16 and I didn't have any place to go at night, here's what I would do. There was one city bus, the 380 Henry Bourassa. It would start out on the north side of Montreal where I grew up, and then it would drive all the way to the west side of the city, making a bunch of stops along the route. It ran all night. And back then, from one end of the line to the other would usually take around 2 full hours. That's 2 hours of being able to feel your toes, 2 hours of not shivering so hard that you bite into your tongue. So, all throughout the day, I would do everything I could to scrounge up bus fare. And then when it turned to evening and the cold winds hit, I'd leave wherever I was and head to the bus stop. The doors of the 380 would swing open at the front. I'd step in, pay $2.75 fare, and sit down in some empty window seat and just close my eyes. Sometimes I'd be so tired that my body would allow me to sleep, mouth open, drool on the side of my cheek, the whole nine. If I wasn't tired enough to doze off, though, I'd just close my eyes and envision something positive. My family all getting along again, winning the lottery, hitting a bunch of threes in a row, just whatever popped into my head. Then, after what seemed like an eternity on some nights, and other times felt like only about 2 minutes since I'd taken my seat, the bus would pull into the depot. My head would jerk forward, then back, and I'd hear the whoosh of the air brake. It was like an alarm clock, 2 hours down. I'd stumble off the bus, trudge onto the station, and I would sit on a bench for 30 minutes. That's how long the bus drivers got for a break. The driver would then maybe go off, smoke a cig, grab a coffee, or whatever, and then he'd get back on the bus, with me falling right along behind him. I'd pay another $2.75, and then I would ride back to the exact same place I came from 2.5 hours later. On the trip back, I'd sleep some more or listen to music on this little pocket radio I had back then, or I would stare out the window at all the fancy cars parked along the street in the rich parts of town. And then when we arrived back in the north side, I would know that I had killed a total of 4 hours and a half nighttime hours. Then, if I was lucky enough, I would have another 550 in my pocket. I'd do the whole thing over again. 2 more hours out, 30 minutes for the bus driver to smoke, 2 hours back. A full night's of sleep would run me $11. It was like an endless loop. This guy is one of the realest players in the NBA. By the way, I heavily encourage everyone to read it. I'll drop a link of to this because it's genuinely one of the most realist Players Tribune pieces I've read. And yeah, man, like this guy has like fought his way from, again, like being kind of a nobody, super late to basketball. Nobody put him in the basketball infrastructure. You look at how the players in the league are today. How many players are, sons of former, NBA players, right? Or like, actually, yeah, obviously, how many sons are, former sons of NBA players, right? There's a lot of those. Like, there's, Bronny's in the league with LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of those. Steph Curry obviously was the son of Del Curry, so there's like video of him like hooping in Scotiabank Arena at the practice facility with like Vince Carter since he was like 5 years old. And then beyond that, how many of these guys are sons of NBA players or players who were basketball players but didn't make it to like the NBA level? Like you look at the Raptors, for example, RJ Barrett, he's probably had a ball in his hands ever since he was young because his father was Roland Barrett, who didn't play in the NBA but was a pro basketball player. So he got put in basketball infrastructure from a long time. Brandon Ingram, he's just joined the team. If you heard Brandon Ingram's story, his father, owned a gym. And so, he's been in the gym ever since he's been young, some of these guys haven't even had fathers in their lives, period. And so I think that, if you look at the position that Chris Boucher started in, coming from Canada, Montreal of all places, he's 16 years old when I'm describing this bus story. And the fact that he makes it to the NBA, the fact that he won a championship with the Raptors, technically won one with the Warriors as well, but then goes on to actually make the career. Then he's gone on to make enough money to not only set up his family for success, to set up even a charitable foundation that a guy like Chris, even though he's not going to make that much money, this guy was like still like, I'm still going to try to give back, in his capacity. It's beautiful, man. And I'm so happy to actually see him back in Toronto getting that love. I think, yeah, just in general, man, it was just really fun to see, all the appreciation that he got, because I think he absolutely deserves it, man. Like it's I don't even write stories anymore. But last year when I got a chance to sort of talk to Chris before a game in Philadelphia, I realized that there was a chance to write a story about him and sort of his career, because he was actually about to crack the top 10 in games played as a Raptor. He had actually just passed, I think, Fred VanVleet at that point, which is another crazy success story. But even for Fred, like I think Chris's success story is even crazier than Fred's, all due respect to Fred, who also came from very humble beginnings. But yeah, and then I think it's just there's just, you gain an appreciation for him, man, and I crazy respect for him. The Raptors did not actually show a tribute video for him. I can only assume that that's because it was preseason. Maybe they want to do it in the regular season, but absolutely, he deserves a tribute video. He deserves a huge hand from the crowd. He hugged so many members of the Raptors, so many members of the staff. Just an awesome human being, man. So salute to Chris Boucher. His impact in Toronto, by the way, does continue as well. He's obviously going to live in Toronto in the off seasons and stuff like that. This is his home, and he's also set up so many charitable efforts too through his Slim Dunk Foundation that he's going to continue to do stuff here. So obviously he's been a great friend to us on the program. Whether that was at Raptor show or here, like he's appeared on the podcast. We've done things together. And just want to tip my hat to Chris. By the way, Chris was obviously awesome in this game. Honestly, at one point I was playing a game in the first quarter where I was like, how many times is Chris going to shoot the ball versus how many times is Chris going to pass the ball? And I think it was like 5-2 in terms of shots versus passes in the first half or the first quarter, but the guy was cooking, man. Like, I can't even tell you. Like, why would he pass? 19 points, 7 of 10 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, plus 22, a game high. Chris Boucher, salute to you. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I do hope to do a follow-up interview with Chris, because it's always fun to sort of talk to Chris on the program. I have to see a couple of Chris's people in the building as well. So I was happy for him. But I am happier for the Raptors, though, for getting the win. So take a quick break. We're going to get to the 3 stars. We're going to get to a couple of your questions. On the other side, of this break.
This show is brought to you by Simply Spiked. Will, I know summer's over, but you are not done with Simply Spiked, are you?
No, absolutely. This is my preferred drink of choice, as you know.
What do you prefer? What is your favorite flavor? Is it the lemonade? Is it peach? Is it limeade?
Number one is actually the blueberry, which I tried looking around my house. I don't even have anymore.
Well, good to know. It's not even anything I listed there. Hello and welcome, fans. If you're not sure what flavor you want to get yourself a variety pack so you can try each flavor. It really is the ideal drink for any occasion, from hanging with your friends to catching this upcoming Toronto Raptors season. Nothing will get you feeling refreshed and ready for the season like Simply Spiked. Fall is approaching, but there's no need for pumpkin spice when you got Simply Spiked.
Oh, very good. But no.
Thank you. I know this is an ad, but Will, you really love your Simply Spiked.
Absolutely is not a joke. I'm not kidding.
Pick up Simply Spiked at your local liquor store for your next hangout. Must be legal drinking age. Celebrate responsibly.
Okay, we are back on the Raptors Reaction Podcast. Send in your questions if you have them about the game. Appreciate you. Again, flying solo. My boys are actually at a WNBA watch party, seeing if the Aces can close it out against the Mercury. Obviously, Aja Wilson with that incredible end to Game 3 with the little turnaround jumper. Might be the first game winner over a married couple, I gotta say. Man, that was pretty cool that he hit it over. That she hit it over both Dewana Bonner and AT Alyssa Thomas. So that was a really, really cool game. I will check that out after I'm done here. Also, I'm curious to see what the score is between the Tigers and the Mariners. They're going to be playing for the right to battle the Toronto Blue Jays, who will be opening the ALCS this weekend on Sunday at Rogers Center. Hopefully Skydome is open. Hopefully the weather is good enough for that, because it has been absolutely beautiful to see October baseball in Toronto. And of course, that first series is so great. The reaction was so great. Yankees lose was so great that we actually turned that into a drop. If you haven't heard the banter pod yet.
Yankee lose. Yankee lose. Yankee lose.
So, but again, the mission doesn't start with just the Yankees lose. You know what I mean? Like the mission is when the Blue Jays win it all. So, that was a really, really great series, and hopefully we get to see more of that. So, okay, we got a couple questions here. First one from Needless Moose. Will, what's the best young guy duo you're seeing? Gotta be Jacoby CMB for me. Best, I mean, okay, obviously today wasn't the strongest showing from Jacoby, but Jacoby did play really well in the game against Sacramento. So, you get one, you take one, whatever. But like, I think CMB, if I had to rank all the Raptors prospects right now, CMB for sure is like the number one guy for me in terms of who's the prospect I'm most intrigued, who's the guy who has starter potential, maybe even star potential. Again, that's kind of projecting way down the line. I think a couple of things would have to really hit. His 3-point shot would have to continue showing improvement. It's already kind of a lot better than what I saw in Summer League, to be honest, but over the course of the game as well. I like his physicality. I like his IQ of the game. I like his versatility. Like, I think there's an easy path to him becoming a starter in the league, in that level of player. I think after that point, it's hard to choose between Gradey and Jacoby. I think you kind of swing back game to game. I did actually ask Darko before the game in terms of like how he's going to manage his rotation, because obviously, at the shooting guard position, RJ's going to start, probably play like 30 minutes a game. So that still leaves you like 18 minutes of shooting guard. Who's going to be the backup shooting guard? Well, he is a bit spoiled for choice because he has 3 fairly credible ones, right? Ochai Agbaji, who's done nothing really wrong. I thought he played a perfectly fine game here tonight as well. You also have Jacoby Walter, and then you also have Gradey Dick. Obviously today, Gradey Dick was the best of the 3, and he deserves the plaudits, and he will get one of the 3 stars. But I do swing game to game between who's the better prospect between Jacoby Walter and Gradey Dick. I think Gradey has definitely a highest offensive ceiling out of the whole group. Might even have a higher offensive ceiling than Colin Murray-Boyles, just based on the heaters that Grady's able to get to. The outside shot is such an important shot, obviously, now in today's game. And so, like, you know, there definitely is that aspect where it's like it's hard to argue against what Gradey could potentially do. The thing is, Gradey has obviously largely been inconsistent and the percentages haven't been high enough. But we've also seen a lot of him, like, difficult things. Like, I've seen Gradey make some... Grady's shot making alone and the touch, I think, is actually, like, on a different level than most of these other guys. Past that, I think Jamal actually has a pretty strong impact in the game. I think he can still be a little wild, sometimes still be a little inconsistent. There's still a couple turnovers where I'm just like the turnovers just gotta really, really come down. Because, like, if you're gonna imitate, for example, like, okay, I guess like the Fred VanVleet path. Obviously, Fred was able to shoot the three really well, and shoot it at a high volume. But Fred was also great at taking care of the ball, not turn the ball over. And then sometimes I feel like Jamal, when he starts to play really fast, and the thing is, he's obviously quicker and more athletic than Fred is. So sometimes he likes to use his burst to get into the lane. But then if there's not a plan and he's like met at the rim, it's like that's when things kind of go haywire. And then sometimes it feels like the game gets out of control. That's on him as the point guard to really control the game. So I'll probably put Jamal, third? And then past that, I don't know. It's kind of a grab bag. You know, like Mogbo, you know, certainly has his quality of athletic. I honestly wish Mogbo was a better screener, because he's going to have to play in the pick and roll a lot. And I don't know. I don't always feel like he's getting separation for the guys around him to sort of get open. Certainly very athletic, you know, pretty active on defense, you know, works with a lot of what the Raptors want to do. He's also just quite positionally blocked. And then Chucky, honestly, I didn't even mention Chucky much, but Chucky's been like a real standout to me. I think in summer league, he was really quiet, didn't really assert himself. I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It's a new situation. The draft is like 2 weeks before summer league. Obviously, he went undrafted, joins the team, you know, okay, now he's at summer league, doesn't know any of these guys, and it's like, what's going on? And I could totally see the first sense of it, like, okay, this is difficult. Really didn't do much in summer league at all. But in what's been consistent is I liked his defense in the open practice, which only the people in attendance were able to see. I thought his defense was really good in that. I thought his defense was good in the games that we saw previously, the ones against Denver, the one against Sacramento, and I thought here tonight he was like, the whole bench was pretty strong coming back. I mean, I like Jamison Battle knocking down 4 threes as well. But Chucky was great defensively, like head and shoulders above everyone else. Like I thought, there might be a battle in terms of who's going to be that third string point guard between Chucky and Elijah. They've consistently given Chucky that first chance to be point guard. Elijah's played more off ball on the offensive end. I think Elijah probably is a better shot maker, and Elijah did do decently tonight. 9 points, 3 of 5 shooting, no complaints. But I think what Chucky's done is like his on-ball defense. He's pressuring guys. I thought there was even one play where he was battling against Peyton Pritchard, and Peyton Pritchard had to give it up. Like that's impressive, man. Like based on just like the new player that Chucky is, comes in. Honestly, he's not a very tall player, but he has like decent length. Like it feels like he's like blocking and deflecting a lot of passes too. Which I must say that because he's not that long, like it just feels like he's probably just like really positioned himself well. And obviously, he's an experienced player. He played like 4 years in college. He was a pretty accomplished player. He was named to the all-defensive team for his conference. But I also think back to like when I did the sit-down interview with Chucky in Summer League. You actually find that interview on the Hello and Welcome podcast channel on YouTube. But like, I mean, we actually turned it into a short where we sort of compiled together all the times that Chucky said, I'm going to be a dog, or like I'm going to dog them defensively. Basically just use the word dog, especially in a defensive context. And I think our interview was like 9 minutes, and I think he said dog 9 times. Like, he was a dog a minute. And honestly, what I've seen from him is that he's been a dog a minute. Offensively, he's been fine. As a point guard, I'm not expecting him to sort of like create his own shot every single time down, but he's had enough wiggle. He's hit a couple of mid-range jumpers. He's been okay in the catch and shoots. Tonight, he was actually 3 of 6 from 3, so that was decent. That's pretty good, actually. So, credit to him. And he also had 8 assists. Actually, Chucky was one of the best players on the team for the Raptors tonight. So credit to Chucky. But I wouldn't put him in that best like duo just yet. I think it's CMB and then it's CMB and then TBD in terms of who's that best duo for me. Top 5 chaotic Raptors. CB is number 1. Yeah, CB's on the right side of chaos. You know what I mean? Like he's like, Chris is like, what's Chris, man? Chris Chris's heart is in the right place. There's other Raptors who are chaotic, but they're like Bargnani used to be mad chaotic. If you guys want to round for Bargnani, Bargs was like 7 feet. The ball will come out to him on the perimeter. He'd pump fake, and honestly, a lot of people will bite on this pump fake because he does shoot a lot from three, as a 7-footer. And then he would drive, and it was so chaotic how many times this guy would drive into a charge, which obviously had that infamous play where he drove really hard as a member of the Knicks and then fell super hard. The ball bounced off the ground, then off his head. I think they made like a I Believe I Can Fly remix off of that. I mean, that's tough, man. He got remixed with R. Kelly. I'm not even sure who's the worst person there between him and Bargs. But no, I mean, Bargs would also travel a ton. Like, I hated that. That was one of my least favorite moves, was when Bargs would pump fake and then travel. Like, I sort of got that habit like once a game. The Raptors have had some chaotic players. Like, they've had some high variance players, Who else am I thinking about that was real chaotic? I kind of felt Terrence Ross was chaotic in a lot of ways. Like, it's chaotic in the sense that some games he would be like unplayable, and then some games I'm like, where the hell is this guy's head at? So, that was also quite frustrating. But yeah, Chris, he's in the top 5 for sure. But he's like chaotic good. Like, he's chaotic good. Let's say that. But that actually would be a pretty fun one. Who are the top 5 most chaotic Raptors? Yeah, we've certainly had some players, that's for sure. Legend says, which second-year guy do you think will have a few 905 games, tune-up games, outside of Ulrich, who obviously will definitely have some 905 time? I do think that, honestly, in terms of just, like, if the Raptors are going to try to use their time productively, whoever they decide to be in the rotation as that backup shooting guard between Gradey and Jacoby, I think the person who loses out in that battle probably should spend a couple of games in the 905. Like, the thing is, like, I want him to be in the 905 and be the featured guy. Take like 30 shots if you want to, you know what I mean? Just like really, really rep it up and sort of get to like all the functions where you feel comfortable, you're able to create, you're able to dominate at that level. I think, it'll be probably a harder sell for Gradey, considering the fact that Gradey didn't play 905 last year. He played 905 his first year as a rookie. So it'd be pretty tough to go from like, okay, you're, starting a lot of games last year, obviously due to injuries, but then like, you're back in 905. Jacoby might be a little bit of an easier sell, but I do think there's probably some, utility in that. I honestly think that obviously the 905 doesn't even start until like, I think November. Like, so like you do have some time obviously with everybody together on the roster, and probably more time to sort of balance it out. But what I don't want to see is like one of these two guys not get in the rotation and then not play for like a month. That doesn't feel like productive, especially because these guys are all fairly young. I think Mogbo is going to spend some time in 905. I think that the goal will be to sort of get him to continue to work on what he's already doing, which is like getting strong to the basket, and just like finishing with strength around the basket. I honestly think Mogbo actually has made a lot of tangible improvements. It's just difficult because they've also brought in the most people to replace him at his position. So as much as he can improve, like it's I don't know. Work politics is difficult, you know what I mean? And also life doesn't always hand you a great hand. So in this case, he's kind of getting screwed by the situation a tad as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he saw some time in the 905. And honestly, a lot of these guys the Raptors are going to cut. They're probably going to go to 905 as well. By the way, we've had some pretty good. I can't believe I forgot this. Precious Achiuwa. That was the most chaotic Raptor to me, man. Precious Achiuwa, bro. Oh, man. The first years where he thought he was Giannis and he would try to dribble and attack the basket, the outside shot. I mean, he got hot for like about a month or two. I think at the end of the 2022 season, 2021, 2022, he got hot towards the end. There was one game where he had 5 threes. And, I put together a clip of that game. I think it was Raptors versus the Sixers. Raptors won that game. Precious hit like 5 threes. It was like really impressive. And so I think I put together like a little Twitter compilation of like Precious Achiuwa hits 5 threes or whatever. And every time Precious got signed, whether that it was in New York or even back in Miami, that video will just somehow resurface on my timeline. People would be like, yo, like, they would be sharing that video, so I would get the likes and retweets or whatever. And I'm like, guys, don't get excited, man. This might be the peak of his career right now. Now, Precious cracked me up, honestly, as a Raptor. And not in a good way, too. Like, I was genuinely like, by the way, the duel of Precious and Chris Boucher as like the ultimate chaos bundle, just like a true grab bag of like, it could be terrible one game or it could be amazing the next game, and it might give you half the offensive rebounds available. That was a wild way to live, man. I think they even brought in Thad Young that year to kind of be their principal in a way, because they were like, let's bring in an old head who knows what he's doing and like maybe kind of like direct traffic a little bit. Turns out having 3 power forwards on the floor at once wasn't the greatest situation. We got a couple more good candidates. Arugio. If you guys didn't remember Rafa Arugio, I mean, this was Raptors, I think 8th pick, 2004. I think he had played at BYU, but he's a Brazilian center, and yeah, I mean, he kind of had like the Backstreet Boys like style haircut. Like he had the gelled hair, it was all spiked up and everything, like pretty big pipe, arms. But turns out he was just like Chris Humphries. I think he actually might have been traded for Chris Humphries, but like yeah, just it's definitely a waste of a number 8 pick. In all due respect, Bebe was pretty chaotic for sure. Baby's had a hard life. No jokes about Baby, man. Salute to Baby. I hope you're good, man. Good Joey, bad Joey. Yo, again, this is like a blast from the past, really. But yeah, Joey Graham, another. I think he was the 7th pick, maybe after Hoffa. Like, just oh man, it's just a run of nasty picks by the Raptors. But Joey Graham looked the part of an NBA player for sure. Like he had the NBA body. Super D's, like super jacked, like what would a modern comparison for him be? Like Joey Graham physicality wise, like in today's game, I just remember this guy having like the biggest biceps, man, especially for a wing too. Who's got huge biceps in the league right now? I don't even know. I feel like this body type might be, I don't know, like he was like even bigger than PJ Tucker almost. Yeah, like, but yeah, like, Joey would have like some decent games, and then most times he would have bad games. So it kind of spawned this like good Joey, bad Joey situation. Definitely remember a bit of that. Aaron Baines, I mean, he was chaotic, especially for a veteran, because a lot of these guys we're mentioning were like young. So like when you're younger, you're like more athletic, you're trying more crazy shit. You don't really know better. But man, Aaron Baines, as like a 34-year-old, came in and was, I mean, there's one of the all-time plays. For me was like there was during Tampa, the Raptors season when they played there. There was Raptors versus Sixers. They had Aaron Baines play against Joel Embiid. Aaron Baines might come up with the rebound, try to bring it up, then try to hand it off to somebody, but they weren't on the same page, so the handoff never came. But then he couldn't touch it again because they'll be traveling. So then he just started like boxing out around a bouncing basketball, like boxing on anybody in the way. The ball was like bouncing all over the place. I think it actually was saved possession wise, but it just looked ridiculous. Like he dropped the basketball, it was still bouncing, and he's just like kind of like dancing around this basketball. Oh god, that was not strong. Man. I was really excited for him. I'm not gonna lie. Aaron Baines kind of scarred me in a way that I didn't really expect Aaron Baines to scar me. Hopefully he's okay too. Apparently he like when he went back to Australia, he like slipped in a tub and really seriously hurt himself. And I think that might have like stopped his career for about a year, and then I think he came back, continued to play a little bit more in Australia. I think he's retired now, but that was really unfortunate. Jokes aside, all love to Aaron Baines. He was always I guess I never met him because he was in Tampa, but he was still like a pretty stand-up individual. And he did actually have a career year in Phoenix. I think under Darko actually, when Darko was like the offensive coordinator for Phoenix. I think he actually had a career year in Phoenix. And so when he came to Toronto, it was like kind of a coup. It was like, okay, the Raptors didn't get Chris Boucher or Marc Gasol, our 2 champions who moved on in one summer. One to LA, the Lakers, one to the Clippers. But it's okay, we got Aaron Baines. And then it was like, damn, like that, we just did not get career Aaron Baines here in Toronto. It was unfortunate. Who else was pretty chaotic? DeRozan? I mean, in the playoffs, sure, but like, I think DeMar's under enough heat, man. Him and Drake beefing is already enough. He doesn't need me to beef here. Chuck Hayes wasn't that chaotic. He just had a ridiculous free throw release. Like he kind of would he would get up to here, and he's about to flick and raise his arm, but then he would go on his tippy toes and then kind of lean a little bit forward to the point where he's about to fall over the line, which would be a violation, and then he would just like fling the ball at it. There's a fairly famous clip on YouTube if you look up Chuck Hayes and Allen Iverson. This is when AI, I believe, was on the Nuggets and Chuck Hayes was on the Rockets. And AI got he couldn't stop laughing at the free throw. He's like, yo, what's he doing? So Yeah, but shouts to Chuck Hayes. Actually, Chuck Hayes, legendary post-up defender. This guy was great at post-ups. Mostly because this guy was like rooted like a tree. But yeah, you could not move Chuck Hayes. Chuck Hayes was like Grant Williams if he wasn't annoying. Yeah, who else? Oh, Quincy Acey. Yeah, Quincy Acey out of Baylor. Quincy. Yeah, he was like the Raptors second round pick back in the day. He used to always want to fight people, man. Like, I don't know. There's something about Quincy where, like, you just got the vibe that, like, if anyone, like, swiped at the ball, he would fight him. Like, I think he eventually won with Rudy Gay in that trade to Sacramento. It was him, Rudy Gay, and Aaron Gray in that trade. But, yeah, I remember Quince. Yeah, Quincy was Timu Reggie Evans. Hey, man, I really liked Reggie Evans as a Raptor. This is back in the day where, like, the Raptors were so bad. Like, this is like probably like 2011 Raptors, I want to say, maybe 2012 Raptors. Where, yeah, like I used to be, honestly, this is how down bad we were. I used to get gassed for how many rebounds Reggie Evans would have. Like, I would be like, yo, Reggie Evans got 8 rebounds, man. And he came off the bench behind Ed Davis, and it's only like the first half. How many rebounds would Reggie Evans end up with? Meanwhile, the Raptors are like down 15 this whole time. I distinctly remember like Reggie Evans, he was in that era of the Raptors when they used to wear the all green St. Patty's Day outfits, which is genuinely one of the worst, jerseys, not just Raptor wise, like ever. I think I might find a picture of Reggie Evans. Raptors green jersey. Let's see if that pops up anything. I just have this image of Reggie Evans like wearing that, like for some reason the Raptors wore these like Celtic green jerseys at one point, and yeah, and he all had a headband on, and the Reggie Evans just like would he would have games where he had like 12 rebounds, 15 rebounds. Like he was a very, very good rebounder. I think that's okay. I cannot find a picture of him in the St. Patty's Day jerseys for the Raptors. Oh, I do, I guess, have this one. Is he? I can't even tell if he's playing for the Celtics or not, or if he's playing for the Raptors. But yeah, in any case, yeah, Reggie Evans, actually another deep, YouTube recommendation. If you search up Reggie Evans and Chris Kaman, you should look up that play between Chris Kaman and Reggie Evans. Chris Kaman, that's Kaman. Yeah, Chris Kaman, Reggie Evans. If you know, you know. That was a crazy play, man. Long story short, they're battling for a rebound. I think Chris Kaman has inside position for the board. Reggie Evans, I think on the Clippers at this point. No, maybe he was on the Clippers. Maybe he was on the Sonics. I don't know. But he's just reached underneath his crotch and just pulled it. It's one of the dirtiest plays I've ever seen. Like, actually, we might have to watch that together. Hold on. We gotta watch that as a family. Hold on. Chris Kaman, Reggie Evans. Yeah, this was on Inside the NBA. Yeah. Okay, yeah, this was Chris Kaman was on the Clippers, and Reggie Evans was on the Nuggets. Let me pull up the clip. Hold on, we gotta watch this together. If you guys haven't seen this, you guys will definitely get a crack out of this. What are we doing, man? It's a Friday night, man. We're watching old highlights. Okay, here we go. All right. Let me see if you guys can see this. Okay, let's roll the tape. I'm sorry that this is I can't actually increase the quality. Yes, you can see here the highest quality is 240p, but you'll get the point. Hold on.
There was an incident in that game involving Reggie Evans and Chris Kaman that folks are talking about, and Chris Kaman not too happy about this. As you see in the paint, why did he push Reggie Evans down? Because we'll slow it down.
Look at this.
What do you mean he wasn't too happy? Why would he be happy about that?
Yes, he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and then
Chris, what was he doing? Yo, shouts to Doc Rivers. Wow, Doc Rivers jump scare.
But the rest of us don't get our
Are people watching this, man? This is Hold on, I might have to replay this, man. This is again, like, there's no point. I don't even know if this is a playoff game. Like,
Down. Evans.
why did he do
Why
that?
would he be
That's
happy
one of the
about that?
craziest thing I've ever seen, man. On a basketball court, no way.
Got caught with his hand in the cookie jar and
Yeah, shouts inside the NBA, man. That was great stuff. So if you didn't know, now you know. Okay, so, you know what? Since we're on the subject of watching all these old clips, man, if you guys haven't, you guys got to see the Andre Bargnani travel. No, actually, I guess no. We would get hit by copyright. I don't want to do that. Okay. Yeah, Bargnani fell like maybe this one. Maybe this one doesn't have the music. Okay, maybe if I mute the music, it might be better. It might be better. Hold on. Hopefully, let's bring this up. Yeah, I think people should know this play. Yeah, Bargnani pump fake. Yeah, there you go. Okay, put it on the deck, so he didn't travel this time. But man, look how hard he falls. Doesn't come anywhere close. Hits his head on the ground. And then I think the wildest part, I think this is a process Sixers too. So, like, first off, nowhere near the dunk. Like, he's just not going to get that dunk no matter what. Goes up, falls down. They do call a block, so I guess he gets free throws on this. But, I mean, that's not really worth it. And my favorite part is I think the ball bounces on his head afterwards. Like, super unfortunate, man. Like, there's Tony Brothers calling the charge, or the block. And then, yeah, the ball just bounces right on his head afterwards. Poor guy, man. I mean, I don't need to walk through Bargs, but yeah, that was definitely one of my bottom 5 least favorite Raptors was definitely was him. The Aaron Baines clip. Can I find the Aaron Baines clip? I think I might have tweeted it out. Well, hold on, guys, bear with me. All right. Well, you guys need to Aaron Baines. Maybe I can find it on my Twitter. Hold on, because I definitely tweeted this out. Aaron Baines was also great at just great at rebound, like setting screens, bro. This guy used to just kill people on screens, man. He also did a decent job against Joel Embiid, I must say. So I do have to commend him for that. But where was the play by Aaron Baines, man? Did I tweet this? Maybe I didn't tweet this. No, this isn't it. Also, Aaron Baines had that Stan account. I feel like, honestly, before fan accounts are like universal now, Aaron Baines' fan account used to be very funny, and I do miss Stan accounts being funny rather than just like player agendas nonstop. I don't want to search Aaron Baines lowlights. Okay, I'm going to search Aaron Baines lowlights. Hold on. Wow, Aaron Baines lowlights 2020, 2021 Toronto Raptors. Come on, dog. That's not... Oh, is this it? Oh, I think I might have found it. I think I may have found it. Hold on. Let me just make sure. Yes, this is the game. This is the game. Okay, let's watch this, and then let's get to the 3 stars, because, you know, it's... Y'all don't need to be watching all this. Okay. I'm going to turn off the commentary. Maybe that helps with the copyright. It doesn't really matter. Who cares? So, you got Matt Thomas coming off what I believe is a dribble handoff from Aaron Baines. Maybe if I rewind it, I can get it a little bit closer. Okay, Matt Thomas is going, dribble handoff from Aaron Baines. Not a clean catch, so he fumbles it. Doesn't get a shot up. I don't know if he would have gotten up over Embiid anyway. Matt Thomas gets baseline. Oh, yeah, so... Yeah, let's go. Yo, I love this play so much. Just because. So yeah, he gets baseline, he draws Embiid over, and then he makes the right pass to Aaron Baines, who, you know, rightfully doesn't take it strong against Embiid because he's obviously much smaller. He's not gonna finish over the top of him. And then he just tries to go for like a jump hook or like a little push shot, but the ball slips. So it falls behind him. He can't touch it because it's a travel. Falls on top of it. Embiid tries to fall over him. Embiid throws it away against Tobias Harris. Aaron Baines gets the rebound and then goes up for the dunk. Actually, I believe the reason I love this play so much was I think I think Matt Devlin's call. So let's actually hear the call. Hold on.
Thomas cut off. Thomas once again. Baines, ooh, doesn't want to touch it. And Embiid scoops it up. And now batted away, and it works out. Baines with a slam dunk. Just the way you draw it up.
Matty.
I lost my microphone, but I got it back. Just like Baines. That's how you do
Great
it,
contest against
Baines.
Embiid. Let's go. Yeah, that was great stuff, man. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching some old Raptors moments, but yeah, man, Matt Devlin, he dropped his microphone or something. Couldn't believe it, man. Yeah, it was pretty great. Yeah, you're right. The Matt Devlin call was pretty incredible. Yeah, that was really all we had going during COVID. You're right, man. No, man, Matt was kind of. I mean, Matt was cooking for sure, but the Raptors, even though Tampa was terrible, but I did watch every one of those games, but I still remember a lot of those games. Like the game against Orlando where Yuta Watanabe and Paul Watson combined for 50 points. That was one of the games against Orlando. There's another game against Orlando where Fred VanVleet broke the scoring record for Raptors in a single game. I think with 53, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 54. I think it was 54. He had 11 threes in that game. It was nuts. But the defense was also so bad. The highlights don't even look that incredible. Gary Trent Jr. Yeah, Gary Trent Jr. had a game against. So he got traded to the Raptors midseason. Obviously, Norm got traded. Great episode of Open Gym. It's a shame that I guess everyone. Well, I mean, not a shame. It was obviously the right thing to do with everyone being masked up at that point. But at that time, there was an Open Gym episode. You couldn't see their mouths obviously because they're masked up. But you could still see the tears on Norm's face, him hugging. Because Norm got traded, but he still came to the Raptors facility for a workout because it's middle of the day. He's I'm not going to interrupt my routine. I'm a pro. I'm going to keep working out. Goes for the workout. On the way out, he sees Jama Mahalela. Then he sees Fred VanVleet. Then he sees Kyle Lowry. And then he just starts breaking down in tears, man. Norm, I love the fact that guys like Norm, Chris Boucher, Fred, Pascal, these guys love the Raptors. They loved being a Raptor too. And it meant something to them, especially after they got, moved on from. But so we got Gary in the midway through the season, and obviously we missed Norm, but we're pretty excited for Gary. And then Gary had a game winner against Washington. Remember Raul Neto tried to go for a steal, couldn't get it, then flopped, couldn't get the call, and then Gary hit the three on him, which was great. That was a game winner against Washington. Gary also had a game where I think he had 41 or 42 points. But he shot 17 of 19 from the field in a game against Cleveland towards the end of that season. The Raptors won that one. The past California, what is it? Past California, where Pascal used to always torch teams in California. There was the game, it was Kyle Lowry's last game as a Raptor, where he had not been playing for a while, obviously because the Raptors were tanking. That was the infamous play-in for what season, as quoted by Masai Ujiri. And Kyle's, for some reason, he wasn't playing most of the games after the trade deadline. He was expected to be traded, but he wasn't. But he did end up playing in that game. And I love Kyle because he went for, I think Kyle had 37 against the Lakers, who famously, I mean, if you believe the reports, I think the Lakers were they wanted Kyle. They needed a point guard for a long time. I think they might have still had Westbrook at that time. So they're looking to get Kyle in the trade. But they were no, we're never going to give up on Taylor Horn Tucker. By the way, Taylor Horn Tucker, I believe, plays either in China or Turkey, one of the two. And so Kyle wasn't playing pretty much at all after the All-Star break, except for one game he played. And it was against the Lakers, where Kyle Lowry, the legend, goes for 37 points and 11 assists in a 121-114 win over the Lakers. That actually set the Lakers back in their playoff chase at that time. And yeah, that was incredible. He had 37, Pascal had 39. What? Just randomly being yo, screw you, Lakers. You don't want to give me THT, I'll give you 37 and a loss on your way. Yeah, Pascal got suspended earlier that season for leaving the bench early. The whole altercation with Nick Nurse, which we still won't ever get the complete truth out of, but obviously something happened there, and hopefully it wasn't physical, but it definitely said it was beyond words. What else happened that season? Aaron Baines, you know, Stanley Johnson. Like there's just, I don't know, man. We've been through some dark times, but hopefully, you know, we're a little bit better on you know. Someone said Turkey for on and off the court. Maybe that's why my mind, you know, went to Turkey, because you know he probably should go to Turkey. Kyle's last game was so good he enjoyed cooking the Lakers. Yeah, bro, the fact that Kyle Lowry's last ever game for the Raptors was 37 points and 11 assists. Salute to the GOAT. Can't wait to watch him on Prime, and definitely not watch him on the Sixers. Okay, it's been enough. It's been enough revision on the Raptor show here, or not the Raptor show. Wow, blast from the past. From the Hello Welcome podcast, the React Pod. Let's wrap up the 3 stars from tonight's performance. I'm gonna give the first star to Gradey Dick, 22 points, 6 rebounds, an assist, a steal, 8 of 13 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. Yeah, I just thought, Gradey was playing super hard. He was playing great. I like the fact that he's asserting himself much more physically as well. And I think, again, just if he's going to play limited minutes, you want him to play 100%, you know, give me 120% in those 20 minutes that you're going to play off the bench. Because I think that's probably the way he's going to progress. And I think that's probably like a comfortable place for him in the league. Because I'm not entirely sure Grady's going to be a starter just based on his defense. But I think he can still be quite impactful. And a guy coming off the bench to gun and score and still be physical too. He made a lot of plays just inside the paint too. So Grady's a pretty talented player, man, and I'm happy he's able to show it here. Your second star, we got Chucky Hepburn. Absolutely, Chucky, 13 points, 8 assists, 4 steals for Chuck Dog. If you haven't seen it already, go listen to the interview that we did with Chucky earlier this season at Summer League. And then your third star, how could you give it to anyone else but the guy who hit the game winner, Jonathan Mogbo, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal off the bench, 4 of 7 shooting. But the most important part was that he got the deep seal, caught it, pivoted, turned, went up quick with the left hand, finished it, and got a game winner. Even in a preseason setting, it's still pretty cool to hit a game winner. So shouts to Mogbo. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner, I mean, you know, it takes a lot to not give it to Peyton Pritchard because he almost always deserves the Gerald Henderson Award winner award when the Raptors play the Celtics. But we're going to give it to a friend of the program, Chris Boucher. Genuinely was better, actually, than Peyton Pritchard was. 19 points for Chris, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, plus 22, 7 of 10 shooting from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 4 from the foul line. Chris Boucher got a lot of it in his return to Toronto, as he rightfully deserved. Yeah, man. Chris had a great game. So salute to Chris. If you haven't already, go read the Players Tribune piece from Chris. I think a lot of people know Chris's story. His story has actually been told quite a bit, but I think it sounds the best coming from his voice. By the way, also big shouts to a friend of the program, Jeremy Zheng, who came back from China. Salute to Jeremy. And he brought me back a gift. This is a Shanghai Sharks jersey throwback. Okay, Shanghai Sharks. And for people who may or may not know Chinese, this is the player on the back. It's a 15. But that's the GOAT right there, baby. That's the GOAT. It's actually my second one of his jerseys. I got one for the Houston Rockets as well. But that's Yao Ming, baby. Yao Ming, the GOAT. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate everyone for tapping in. We'll be back on Sunday when the Raptors play preseason. That will be an afternoon game. So you can watch that calmly, and then we can stress out about whoever the Jays are facing in the ALCS. But yeah, we can watch that game and we react to it. Of course, in the meantime, if you have any chores to do around the house, if you have any menial tasks, you know, the leaves are changing, maybe you got to go sweep the leaves, maybe you got to wash the dishes, maybe you got to clean your house, Thanksgiving's coming over, you got to prep the house for guests, go listen to the Banter Pod. 3.5 hours of just non-stop joy and definitely no basketball talk with myself, Alex Wong, Jerome Chang. We did that earlier this afternoon, so go check out the Banter Pod. But thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, let's go Blue Jays, baby. Da Yankees lose. See ya.